Moving on to the stories in detail. The Sri Lanka Catholic Bishops' Conference, issuing a statement, vehemently condemns a statement voiced by former parliamentarian Harin Fernando against Archbishop His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit. The statement notes that neither the Archbishop nor the Catholic Church of Sri Lanka has ever directly or indirectly acted to topple or establish governments. The statement emphasizes that the Church will not act in any such manner even in the future, as the Sri Lanka Catholic Bishops' Conference and the Catholic Church does not engage in active politics. It notes that the Catholic Church of Sri Lanka is under obligation to comply with the laws of the state. The Church will not intervene with the matters of the government. However, it is ever dedicated to support the nation of Sri Lanka. Therefore, such support should not be misinterpreted as supporting a particular government or a particular political party. It is being pointed out to former parliamentarian Harin Fernando that all times the Archbishop and the Catholic Church act with utmost responsibility. Therefore, the strong statement voiced by him on the Archbishop engaging in politics is vehemently condemned. The statement questions as to whether it is wrong for the Archbishop to demand justice on behalf of the faithful. It further questions as to who set the stage to call for justice in that manner, and points out that if former MP Harin Fernando had fulfilled his responsibility as a people's representative, the Cardinal would not have had to get involved in such civil activities calling for justice. It further questions that as a Catholic and according to his conscience, the former MP could have taken steps to prevent the Easter Sunday attacks. The statement continues questioning that after the attacks, shouldn't former MP Harin Fernando have dedicated himself to fight for justice for those injured and killed? It questions, stating that it shouldn't the former MP have resigned from his cabinet ministerial portfolio and put pressure on those responsible. Thereby, the Catholic Bishops' Conference in its statement calls on the MP to refrain from attempting to drag the Cardinal and the Church into politics, to end slinging of mud at His Eminence for other agendas, and to understand his mission as a follower of Christ and act accordingly. Meanwhile, the auxiliary bishops of Colombo, with the Catholic clergy, vehemently condemned the baseless statement voiced by former parliamentarian Harin Fernando. They state that they are shocked by this attack and condemn such a misconstructed criticism of the Cardinal as a derogatory comments against His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit are totally unfounded and uncalled for. The statement alleges that the former MP has insulted the Archbishop, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, and his designation. The statement notes that His Eminence still boldly appears for the cause of the innocent victims of the tragic bomb blasts. It further states that it is very appalling for former MP Harin Fernando to attack the leadership of the Catholic Church in such a manner, and they urge those concerned to take steps to correct the situation with immediate effect. In conclusion, the statement points out that the Archdiocese of Colombo, as always, will be impartial in its stance politically, as the Archdiocese is committed in all efforts to uphold the law of the country, unity amongst all religions, and the freedom of every person and the nation.
Meanwhile, several remarks were made over the statement of Samagi Janabalawegyan nationalist candidate Harin Fernando on His Eminence Archbishop of Colombo today. Former MP Harin Fernando said that if 5% of the votes obtained by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa had been won by the former MP Sajid Premadasa, the final verdict would have been 47 to 48% of the votes. Then he said that more than 300,000 votes casted for JVP candidate had voted for the former MP in the second round. However, he said that this potential outcome was altered. He added that 80% of the Catholic votes are for United National Party. Therefore, he alleged that His Eminence Archbishop of Colombo changed the course of the electoral process through his politics. He said that His Eminence had called him in public, claiming that the minister's son had escaped the attack. Director of Dham Sevana Devsathala, Reverend Father Cecil Joyce, said that they are disappointed and surprised by the statement made by former MP Harin Fernando over His Eminence, the Archbishop. He said that this statement raises the massive question over such baseless and irresponsible statements made by such political candidates amid the nearing parliamentary election in the country. He said that they are questioning the use of words of the potential parliamentary leaders in the country and their opinions over the religious leaders. Director of the Catholic Press, Reverend Father Fernando, said that the entire nation is aware that His Eminence, the Archbishop, has nothing to gain through party politics. He said that His Eminence Archbishop made a massive contribution in maintaining peace and harmony in the country in the aftermath of the Easter Sunday attack. He further said that as a person who is compassionate over the human life, the entire nation still sends the suffering His Eminence undergoes each day over the calamity occurred from the Easter Sunday attack.
පදවියේ සියලුම පූජකතුමන්ලා රදගුරුතුමන්ලා ඒ වගේම සමස්ත ජනතාව ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කරන බව සඳහන් කරන්නට කැමැති.
කාදිනල් හිමිපාණන්ට
මෙවැනි චෝදනා එල්ල කිරීම. Mass Communication Reverend Father Benedict Joseph said that they condemn the statement made over His Eminence and reject such claims.
එවැනි දේ කතා කරන දේශපාලනඥයින්ට
Leader of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, says that if a religion or a religious leader is scorned, it is the beginning of the degeneration. The Premier made this comment addressing a public rally held at Wanduragala in Kurunagala today. The rally was held to assure victory for the candidates contesting under the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna from the Kurunagala district at the general election. It was organised by contestant Jaratna Herath. A group leader of the Kurunagala district, Johnston Fernando, also attended the rally.
මේ දවස්වල ඒ සර්කස් එක බලාගෙන ඉන්නකොට අපිට පේනවා මේ අය දවස ගානේ හතට හැලෙනවා හැර තියෙන ඡන්ද ප්‍රමාණය අඩු කර ගන්නවා හැර වැඩි කර ගන්න ප්‍රමාණයක් මට පේන්නේ නැහැ. ඊයේ හම්බුනේ මම
The Premier said that the UNP is divided, and when looking at the quarrels between the two factions, they seem to be declining politically instead of increasing their vote base. The Premier noted that yesterday one former MP was heard insulting the Cardinal. The Premier states that scorning a religious leader shows how much the MP and his party has degenerated in values. The Premier also stated that as President Gotabaya Rajapaksa is prepared to go forward with a clear vision, the Parliament should also be represented by political party of the President. The Premier states that if this does not happen, the people will suffer the loss. The Premier added that the Prime Minister and the Cabinet of Ministers should also be represented by the political party of the President.
පැහැදිලි වැඩපිළිවෙලක් එක්ක ඒක ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න යන වෙලාවක පාර්ලිමේන්තුවත් ජනාධිපතිවරයාත් එකම පක්ෂයක සිටියයි කියන විශ්වාසය අපිට තියෙනවා. මොකද එහෙම නැත්නම් රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහයි සිරිසේනයි වගේ වෙනවා. මොකද මේ දෙන්න දෙපැත්තට ඇද්දම රට යන්නේ නැහැ. ඒකේ පාඩුව වෙන්නේ ජනතාවට. ඒ නිසා මම හිතනවා ජනාධිපතිවරණයේදී ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මහත්මයාගේම පක්ෂය තමයි පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ අගමැති සහ කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයේ ජයග්‍රහණය සී ගැටලුවක් නැහැ. ඒ නිසා අපේ ඉලක්කය තුලින් දෙකේ ඡන්දය.
Another rally of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna was held, chaired by Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa at Hettipulo in Kurunagala. It was organised by the Kurunagala district contestant Dayasiri Jayasekara. At this rally too, the Premier stated that the attention of the people should be focused on having a government in power from the political party that represents the President.
අපි දැන් මාලදිවිනෙත් එක දිවිසුමක් තියෙනවා අපිට. මාලදිවිනෙත් අපි මිලියන 100ක අපේ භාණ්ඩ අවුරුදු 5ක් තුල දිගන්න. ඒකෙදි බිත්තර, කුල්මාස්, එළවලු මේ ආදී වශයෙන් ගමේ ජනතාව නිෂ්පාදනය කරන දේවල් ඒ රටවල් වලට යැවීමට අවශ්‍ය වැඩපිළිවෙලක් රජය දැන් කටයුතු කරගෙන යනවා කරන්න. ඉතින් ඒක නිසා කැමියා විසින් කරන ලද කර්මාන්තවලට විදේශීය විනිමය ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන් විදියට.
The Premier said that they have an agreement with the Maldives, and that's for them to purchase Sri Lankan goods up to 100 million rupees within a period of 5 years. The Premier further stated that the government is compiling measures to export eggs, chicken, vegetables and other produce to such countries.
Leader of the United National Party, Ranil Wickremesinghe, engaged in religious observances at several viharas in the Homagama electorate. UNP leader Ranil Wickremesinghe visited the Homagama Sugatha Bimbaramaya the Godagama Kettarame and Meegoda Sri Sumanarame and engaged in religious rites. He met with the chief incumbents of the viharas and obtained blessings. Former ministers Ravi Kannanayake and Daya Gamage were also present.
The Colombo District Court today rejected issuing a restraining order on preventing the decision being implemented to suspend the party leadership of 99 UNP members, including former Minister Ranjith Madduma. Declaring the decision, the Colombo District Judge Amali Ranavira stated in open court that when seeking such a restraining order, the complainants need to disclose facts in their true authenticity before court. The district court judge pointed out that in this appeal, the complainant has called for a restraining order concealing facts. Therefore, the issuance of the sought restraining order had been rejected. Notices were also issued on UNP leader Ranil Wickremesinghe and deputy leader Ravi Kannanayake to submit objections, if any. The judge ordered that the objections be submitted within 2 weeks from today. UNP General Secretary Akhila Viraj Karyavasam, who has also been named as a respondent of the case, was also ordered to appear in court. The case will be next taken up for hearing on the 27th of next month.
The highest number of COVID-19 patients detected within 24 hours globally was reported yesterday. According to the World Health Organization, the number exceeds 283,000 cases. However, the epidemiology unit states that within the past 2 days, no COVID-19 infected patients were reported in Sri Lanka. The number of COVID-19 patients that have fully recovered in Sri Lanka currently stands at 1,526, and this is a percentage of 78.25%. The number of patients undergoing further hospitalized treatment stands at 413. Totally, 96,268 PCR tests have been carried out so far. Meanwhile, the Valisara Mahasen Navy camp will be reopened under several stages from tomorrow. A group of 213 expatriate Sri Lankans who were stranded in India arrived in the island with a group of Indian maritime staff members this morning. They have been accommodated at several hotels situated around the airport until their PCR test results are received. The one-day service of the issuance of the national identity cards, which were temporarily suspended, was recommenced today. The one-day service Colombo office serves 250 applicants per day, whilst the Southern Province office serves 75 persons. The Department of Motor Traffic decided to extend by 6 months the validity period of driving licenses expiring within the period from the 13th of March to the 30th of June. In addition, the validity period of driving licenses expiring between 30th June and 30th of September will be extended by 3 months. $144,000 persons engaged in the tourism sector will benefit by the decision taken to grant concessions to the sector. Thereby, 20,000 rupee allowance is said to be granted for tour guides registered with the Tourism Development Authority. The allowance to be granted for tour drivers is 15,000 rupees. Applications can be submitted through the website of the Tourism Development Authority.
Well, the police headquarters state that 8 organized criminals have been arrested within the past 24 hours. They were arrested in patrols carried out by the police and the police special task force in Hangwella, Matugama and Ratmalana and also Rambukkana areas. The Organized Crimes Prevention Unit of the Police Special Task Force arrested the chief associate of Indranil Kumar alias Indra, who is currently imprisoned in connection with the organized crimes. These swords were also seized by the police. The suspect was arrested in Ambulgama area in Hangwella. He is Dasun Buddhika Jayatilaka alias Akku. The arrestee had in his possession a sharp weapon, a fake pistol and 325 grams of Kerala cannabis. Meanwhile, 2 individuals were arrested near the Rambukkana bus stand last evening, having 1.5 kilos of heroin in their possession. The arrest was carried out by officers of the police Organised Crimes Division. The K-Gol magistrate has granted permission for the arrestees to be detained for 6 days for questioning. A jailer guard at the Negombo prison has been interdicted upon charges of facilitating an inmate with a SIM card. Prisons Commissioner Chandana Ekanayaka states that the prison intelligence unit was able to arrest the jailer guard upon information revealed by a sergeant at the Karunaka Air Force camp, who was arrested recently in connection with the drug trafficking.
The legal office of the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumana was declared open this morning. It is located in the premises of the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumana head office at Battaramulla. The objective of establishing this legal office is to obtain legal support for the election propaganda activities of the Sri Lanka Nidahas Podujana Alliance. A large group, including Chairman of the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumana, Professor Gio Pires, and General Secretary Attorney at Law Sagara Karyavasam, were present at the ceremony. Meanwhile, the Sri Lanka Podujana Engineering Front held a media briefing at the head office of the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumana pertaining to irregularities alleged to have occurred in constructions carried out during the previous government.
And moving on with more local stories, testifying before the Presidential Commission on Political Victimization, Inspector of Police attached to the Police Narcotics Bureau, Neomal Rangajiva, stated that the good governance regime took steps to file a political lawsuit against him. He further states that on the basis of expecting President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to contest the last year's presidential election, steps were taken based upon false content to impact the presidential candidate. He stated that under the direct supervision of the Attorney General's Department, the CID commenced an investigation against him. He further stated that without letting the significant parts of the inquiry surface, they filed indictments against him based on fake content. At this point, the attorney appearing on behalf of the plaintiff questioned the reason for the indictments to be filed before the completion of the investigation process and the reason for the investigation process to be stalled midway. At this point, the witness stated that when the news was received that Gotabaya Rajapaksa was to contest the presidential election, this case was filed to cause a slur to the presidential candidate.
Sri Lankan Airlines states that it has introduced a restructuring working plan according to a new strategy by reducing costs. Global airline companies are facing a crisis due to COVID-19 pandemic as administrative, managerial and maintenance costs have increased against a decrease in revenue. Sri Lankan Airlines also faced a difficult situation as foreign tourists began limiting their travels. However, Sri Lankan Airlines hopes to recommence its service from the 1st of August with the introduction of new destinations at a low cost. This will be done under a lending support measure entered into with 2 state banks with the government intervention. Speaking at a media briefing held in Colombo today, Chairman of the Sri Lankan Airlines Ashok Patirage stated that the Cabinet of Ministers has focused attention on this measure.
We had requested certain support from the government, including some money to be pumped in as capital, because we felt we cannot continuously go on the basis of debt, that we need at some point some funds also has to come in the organization for us to turn this around. We, in our plan, that we asked the government, 2 banks at least, to restructure these 2 on a long-term basis, because previously for the last 5 to 7, 8 years, these have been short-term loans, getting rolled over every year. So government actually gave us approval to, lend us $75 million for 2 banks. So we have also in the process of taking those money, because we will require those money until that we start a reasonable level of business.
That's all the news for tonight. Together with Clifford, I'm Sharon, wishing you a very pleasant evening.
Good night.